Kevin Roberts and podcast host Ben Ferguson. And Ben Ferguson adding insult to insult is Bass holding that little microphone like she's some influencer. It looks like she's got a dead mouse up to her lips.
Yeah, here's my question. What happens when the KKK guy decides to run for mayor and then you as a citizen are forced to give $6 for every $1 given by another KK member? What if, by the way, someone decides to run on the platform of, hey, I want to lower the price of cocaine in the streets of LA? That's the whole platform. Why should your dollars, but 6-1, go to support that candidate? This is insanity to force people to actually, and I think there's a religious issue here as well. What if my religious beliefs are against something another candidate says, hey, I want to board 1 million babies candidate? That could happen. And then I'm forced to give $6 of my tax dollars to causes that go against my religious beliefs. If you like a candidate, give them money. I don't care. But as a taxpayer, I shouldn't be forced to support any candidate, period, with guaranteed tax dollars. But this is LA.
Oh, but Kevin, there is a total cap on match donations at about $1.5 million in the general election. The audacity of it for me is that the current mayor would be begging the public to contribute so they can siphon off taxpayer money.
Oh, it's exactly right, Dagan. And in addition to the great examples that Ben mentions, just take a step back and ask the question, what are the other things that the city of Los Angeles could be spending that money on? You know, forest management comes to mind, basic public services, maybe education, but instead what they do is use this public financing program to enshrine and expand the power of the radical left. So it's really important that we understand that this is not the only city in the country by far that does this. This is one of the tools of the trade the radical left does or uses to expand their power. It's obnoxious.
The lack of the rebuilding in the Palisades and what those leaders have done to the people who are still suffering is a travesty and is a pox on those politicians. And I don't think we covered enough. But I want to move on to another liberal hellhole, New York City. So the Republican gubernatorial candidate, Bruce Blakeman, already knows his first order of business if he wins the governorship. Listen.
We've got to get back to common sense and good judgment and economic principles that will grow our economy rather than contract our economy. So I will be very forceful in making sure that we roll back things like the pied-à-terre tax. Think about this. Every other state in America is trying to lure high net worth individuals into their state. We are basically asking them to leave. It's not just a tax on rich people. It ends up being a tax on the middle class.
Kevin, I saw that not as a solution if he wins. It's really a way to get people to vote for him. In New York City, maybe people who would never consider voting for a Republican, if they think that he's going to get rid of it, it's like, hey, I'm on board, particularly one of the 900,000 people who've been doxxed by Mondani and his cronies, Kevin.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Dagan, it's really smart politics by Blakeman, who's running a really strong campaign. Obviously, he's got a great track record as county executive. But in addition to the politics, because I think he's got the attention of at least 900,000 people in New York City, it's also really important policy. The greatest threat to the state of New York are all of these well-run red states who have much better tax policies if you're someone, whether you're poor or whether you're wealthy. Right. People are going to leave in droves, and there are a lot of great places to live in the United States.
Ben knows. Hey, Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I think there's two parts to this. One, the more he can run his campaign, not about being a Republican, but about common sense. That list that they put out, that was a hit list. That was a threat to everyone on that list. No different than when the left celebrated the assassination in New York of that CEO of the healthcare company. They're saying, this is an enemies list. And if he can continue to talk this way, I truly believe he's got a shot at actually being the governor.
Amen. Kevin Roberts, Ben Ferguson, great to see both of you, gentlemen. We'll see you soon.